a swing arm here for.
Wonderful.
It's basically abusing my video
got it.
equipment now for home office purposes.
Wonderful.
Look!
Hi, Ruth. Yay! Oh, and by the way, matching.
Yay! Yours is much bigger than mine.
Is it?
Come on, lady.
Hello, Dale. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi,
Wonderful
Jennifer.
to make it.
Nice to
Hi.
see you.
Nice to see you.
Oh, wonderful. Delighted you're all here. Ollie has gone on mute. Okay. I don't know. I know that two of us can't be here right now. Clean and Haydon has to teach. Cheers, Ruth.
Yes.
As you can see, lives in France.
It's 8 a.m. here.
Yeah, that's right. It's morning, it's a little early.
Ollie, here's some coffee. More like it.
You got up late then.
Oh, nice. What a toast. Good for you.
Oh dear.
Nutella toast.
Excellent. Dana can't be with us today. I know Tara wants to jump in on this. It's Laura in Australia. I'll just make sure she's there. I don't know whether other people are already signed. James, can you hear us? Oh, and Sammy's here, and Pav here.
Just Sammy.
Yes, this is this will happen in our sessions, which is there's the majority of people will show up on time, but you should just expect that for the first 5 minutes it's pretty chaotic like this as people come in from the waiting room and into the meeting. So I've got some notes that I'll share with you, but just embrace this is how the online meeting world is. It is chaotic for the first 5 minutes while everybody just sorts themselves out. And as many people as there are on the conference, the rule of the internet says 6 out of 7 will say, can you hear me? Can you see me? And so one of the little tips I would just give you is it's a great way to start is just to say, let's everybody say together, can you hear me?
Hey, Pablo.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, Tara.
You're a bit quiet at the moment. I was just wondering if it's our problem or yours.
You seem quite far away from the microphone, Patrick.
We do.
Laptop.
See if I can get more.
We could edit a little bit. But
We'll turn the gain up.
I just followed a live webinar of a guy who's usually doing tech reviews on YouTube, and he realized he has the same problem to wait for the people to come in. So he was singing a song for 3 minutes at the beginning of the live broadcast, and it was perfect. You could see everybody had time to check in. And
hey, any offers? Any offers?
Any offers?
Yeah. James, can you just put Joanne in?
Nope, she's not in the waiting room.
Could you check her WhatsApp, James?
I beg your pardon?
Thanks. Could you check our WhatsApp, James? Joanne can't get in. Joanne Green is instrumental to making this all happen, folks. That's why we're waiting for her to still come in.
Joanne is an angel.
Joanne is an angel, and without Joanne, none of this would happen.
And
And I would already be on my 4th nervous breakdown. Thank God Emma's here, for example.
Yes.
Hi, Emma.
Sammy to help me speak.
Look at
And
Hi,
Ollie.
Emma.
Hello, Ruth.
Just to let you know while we're here waiting, folks, we're very, very excited. We've had within the first...
Joanne.
Joanne. Hi.
Well, that
Thanks,
took
Joanne.
a full 5 minutes, that did.
Oh, God. Do we know
Yeah.
why?
Jennifer, Jennifer, yeah, she had the same problem. Yeah, so...
I was just telling them, Joanne, that within the first few days of going online, we've had more than 200 people enroll across the 2 weeks, which is amazing and wonderful. Obviously, a lot of those are coming in for anything that's free. Having said that, most people donate, and only a handful of people come to any of the sessions without wishing to donate at all, which is good news. It's wonderful that you're all here. James, shall we take it away, so to speak?
I will. So I've just muted everybody, which again is just something that you'll get used to. And I'm doing one other thing now, which is to spotlight my video. So if all of that has worked your end, then you should see me as center stage. And I'll go through this in just a moment, but I just want you to know what mute all feels like. If somebody is burning to say something, you can actually unmute yourself, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. One, you can use the button on the bottom left to unmute yourself, or you can find yourself in the Manage Participants screen. You can unmute yourself there, or another really quick tip is you can just hold down the space bar, and that will allow you to speak temporarily and then go back on mute. All right, so I see that we have some chat here. Gwendolyn, yes, I have an absolutely disastrous internet connection. I see the internet vans in the village. The great British internet providers are digging up the roads and trying to sort some things out. But the timing of that couldn't be much worse for me. But on the other hand, I'm hoping that things will get much better towards the end of the week. The other thing that I've done, I'm actually on 2 different connections. So I've joined over my 4G connection, which is something Joanne learnt a week ago. And I'm also on my Wi-Fi, and I've kicked the kids off all their home school stuff. So all that combined, I'm hoping that we'll get through this. If it's too unbearable, the recording will be really great quality because it records me in my full glory. So so if you want to go back and go over it, I will share that with you a few hours after this meeting finishes. If you're not finding the chat, by the way, if you wiggle your mouse or push your finger if you're on an iPhone or a mobile device, and then along the bottom you'll get a lot of controls pop up. If you've got your screen big enough, you'll see one that says chat. If you can't see it, just click on participants and you'll see that chat is something that's available at the bottom of the screen there. And I'm just going to say something. I thought it had started. Apologies. There we go, Emma. Well done. So look, let me now. Hi, Samuel. Thank you for that. So the reason we'll use chat is to stop people interrupting in the middle of a class. So unless you very much want somebody to interrupt you by saying, I'd like to see if there are any questions, then I or whoever is the co-host will point everybody to the chat window as the place just to throw down your questions. Right, so I'm just going to start a share screen now. So you should see that start up and you'll know it's there because it says the Exhale tips for the best experience for your classes. Gwendolyn, Ruth, Joanne, if one of you could give me a thumbs up to show me that's great. Thank you, Ruth. So that's all we're going to go through here as some tips for the best experience. So this is really thinking about you, the host. It may seem really obvious, but you're all performers. There's none of you would think about going into a performance without checking that your instrument was tuned up, or that your voice was clear, or just simple things like that. So the same here. just make sure that your IT is sorted out, that if you're reliant on battery power, that you're fully charged, that you've used the Zoom app before. Well, you all have, because you're here on the call. But invite some of your friends perhaps to just have a little practice with you, just so if you haven't used it before, that you know everything is working. I've taken the precaution of having 2 different connections to the meeting through 4G as well as my Wi-Fi, because I know that I'm struggling a little bit here. And check that your audio is working, that you know what a good level is with the equipment that you're using. And again, really the simplest way to do all of this is just to have a friendly a Zoom meeting with some people that you know, and just try the things that you're going to do. And why do I say all of this? Well, I would hate for anybody to be frightened by the things that I've said. I'm calling these things out because these will make you a little more confident, and it'll be one less thing to worry about if you've tried it all out. Okay, so the next thing, and you can do this privately or you can say it publicly. If you do it privately, just write down some notes in your notebook that's available to you, that you can see clearly. Just set an agenda. What's the beginning, what's the middle, and what's the end? If you like, you can share that with your class. It'll help them just navigate, oh, we're at the bit where he's going to explain some stuff, or oh, we're at the bit where she's going to demonstrate and I just need to watch that. So just some key talking points, some outcomes, what it is that you expect people will have learned as they consume your session, and just be very clear about the way you want your participants to prepare and ask questions. If you're the sort of person that enjoys being questioned as you go along, well, make that clear, and then we can help facilitate that. If you're somebody who wants all your questions to be held and towards the end, then we can do that for you as well. Just make it clear what your expectation is for a really good class, and that will help you and your participants. Please stick to the allotted time. We started bang on, but it was 5 or 6 minutes before we'd settled down with everybody arriving. Exactly the same thing will happen for your classes, so expect that. If you've got 60 minutes of content for a 60-minute session, we're going to run 5 minutes over, and we can't run 5 minutes over. There's a simple reason for that. A co-host must finish the session on time in order to start the next session. You can see Joanne hardly had any grey hair a week or so ago, but we now have more than 80 classes and sessions that she's scheduled, and out of respect for her, for the next teacher, for the next attendees, we will finish sessions on time so that we can start new ones. So please don't be upset or ask for an exception. We will be finishing absolutely on time so that the whole thing can work. Please be patient with your attendees. I know this is a very stressful time for teachers, for faculty, for anybody that is involved in actually running a class online, and my hat off to all of you. There's an incredible transition that you've all gone through. But remember that it's exactly the same for everybody on the call, for all your attendees. So let's just be gracious and patient. There'll be people who stumble across the technology, don't quite get it right. It's possible that someone will try to share their screen halfway through. Just exhale, move beyond it. This is a really incredible transition that people are taking. But I know from my own experience that the impact that you will have for attendees who may have sat and not talked to anybody for a week, certainly haven't heard a musician of your caliber talk, that this is really the highest point of the week for them. Being on these calls makes a huge, huge difference, not just to someone's musical ability or yoga ability, but to their mental health. So let's just be patient and gracious with our attendees and help everybody have a great experience. Manage the chaos. Now, there's chaos that we can manage and there's chaos that we can't manage. I will do my very best to help you with the chaos that you can't manage. But there are some things that we can just help ourselves with. So find yourself a quiet spot in your home. Make sure that there's no TV or music player that could interrupt you. Try closing the door so that you don't get uninvited guests. Again, we've had Joanne's cockerel wander into a meeting. I've had my children come in. Gwendolyn has had an urgent breastfeeding request while she's recording a video. So it probably will happen, but let's just speak to the other people in our house and just say, look, it would be really great if you could just give me this hour. It's an important class that I'm delivering. So there are some things you can manage. Take advantage of virtual backgrounds if it works for you. Now, I understand that for the majority of people it won't work because you're doing very physical movements or demonstrations, but I'm using a virtual background at the moment, and it just hides all of the clutter or whatever else is going on in my study, and it just puts the focus fairly and squarely on me. So if you'd like some help with using the virtual screen, I can show you how to do that when I finish this presentation. And try to wrap up the meeting well. It's many people start, but we forget to finish well. So a good wrap up will be, I'm going to move into a question and answer session here. Here have been the 3 things that I really wanted you to pay attention to. I hope you've got all of those, and thank everybody for joining. Now we can provide you with some interactive polls if you wish. I'll demonstrate that again in just a moment. But polls work like this. You ask a question and then you give your attendees 2 or 3 possible answers. It's not just a random write anything in you like. For example, a poll question might be, is the weather better today where you are or worse? Because the answer to that is either better, worse, or not sure. There are people who will be not sure, so don't just leave it to the binary yes, no. But if you're going to ask a question, think about what the answers possibly are that an attendee would want to give and that's useful for you. And if you want to take advantage of the polls, then please give us 24 hours notice and drop us a line with the questions you'd like to ask and the answers that are acceptable for you, and then we'll just program it in. 3 to 6 is perfect. 1's probably not enough. 2 looks like you hadn't thought it through, but 3 to 6 is fine. Anything more than 6 looks like an exam, so please don't do that. All right, I'm going to change speed a little bit now and talk very specifically about the co-hosts. So the concept here is that the artist, the musician, the faculty member is the host of the meeting. It's all about you. It's all about you sharing your knowledge and your experience. But we've partnered everybody with a co-host. Well, we haven't quite finished partnering everybody, but we will have. And I just want to share here what it is that you can expect from your hosting partner. So the co-host will start the Zoom meeting. That means you don't have to worry about going and finding it or kicking it off. You just need to join it with the information that you will have in the emails that you've been getting from Joanne. So you don't have to start the meeting, but you do have to be there. That means that you'll be in the waiting room until the co-host has actually invited you in. Now, the good news is that if you're in a waiting room, then the meeting is up and running and nothing has gone wrong. If there's no waiting room, you definitely need to be dropping one of us a fairly urgent text message just to say my meeting doesn't seem to have started, but we will let you know how to do that. So we'll start the Zoom meeting. We'll manage the waiting room for you as well. So this means generally I won't let anybody into the meeting until the meeting has started. As the normal practice will be that most people are there, so you want to honor them, thank them for being on time, and the co-host will do that for you. And then we'll start the session recording. Now, this session is being recorded because there are members of faculty who weren't able to join it, and we want to share this information with them. Should somebody not want to be part of a recording, I or the co-host will let people know. If you don't want to be part of it, then turn your video off and mute yourself. If you do those two things, then you as an attendee will not be part of anything that's recorded. So we need to make sure that people have that opt-out from a session being recorded. I'll then spotlight the video. This means that you, the teacher, the artist, you are now center stage. Now, there are scenarios where you won't want to do that, and it would be great that we know that ahead of time, but we can manage it in real time in the session. For example, I know that Gwendolyn is doing some master classes with a couple of key students of hers. So I want them in a split screen format, or I want to be able to switch between the student and the master as that lesson works, and I, the co-host, will handle that switching. As I mentioned earlier, this is using a technique called spotlighting. I have the spotlight at the moment, but because I'm sharing full screen, you just see me in array to the side. But the recording will only show that screen that I'm sharing with you. It won't show any of the boxes of us on the right hand side. So once that's all done, everybody's on mute, we've highlighted, spotlighted the teacher, then you'll be announced. And really that's the point and the invitation to you to get started. So the co-host is taking care of all of that for you, because we just want you to be focused on your content and on your delivery and not worried about any of the mechanics of how the meeting works. So during the meeting, the co-host will introduce the chat window, just as we did at the start of this meeting. The chat window is there for people to type their questions and to post them in. The co-host will also manage late entrance to the session. There will be a bunch of those, and what I mean by manage is I'm not in favor of just letting people tumble in, especially if you're in mid-welcome, because it's very distracting. So I will be encouraging all of the co-hosts just to wait for the right moment and then let people in the waiting room that are a little bit late coming in. So they will get in, but we'll just manage it so that it's not interrupting the flow of the class. The co-host will also manage the gallery view, as I mentioned, if that's required, but just know that all of your participants can select their own view should they wish to. So we can choose to spotlight you, but if a participant wants to move to gallery view just to see who else is in the meeting, they can do that, but use your co-host to switch that for you if you need to. For example, if there's a particular person you want to ask a question of, then ask your co-host to change the spotlight to allow that person to speak. So manage your time. When I say something twice, it means it's really important to me. So please do manage your time and leave 15 minutes for Q&A at the end of the session if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do that, then please let us know ahead of time that you don't want to have Q&A, and we can deal with that. We will also, as co-hosts, navigate the questions from chat for you. So I'm not expecting you to have to find your mouse, find your way to the chat window and see what's there. The way should work, and actually I can see there's some chat now, so I can just do this. Completely faded away from the sound. Question at the end works. Good idea. Okay, so I'm not seeing too many questions here, apart from everybody noting just how horrible my internet is. I'll just remind you one more time, when you watch the playback, it will be perfect because it's all being recorded on my local machine. All right, so if there were some questions, I would be looking through here, and let's say that it was Emma. It was Emma's session. Then I could say, Emma, there's a question here from Joanne, just to say, could you repeat bar 32? And Emma says, no, I can't. And Gwendolyn has a few. Yeah, type away, Gwendolyn. Feel free, but I guess you might not want to type them. You might actually want to do something else. I don't know. We're going the last. Okay. So we'll also run the interactive polls for you, and if I need to, I will remind everybody, or I will mute them again if the sessions are getting too noisy, because everyone can unmute themselves. Every once in a while, I have to go in and just mute everybody, and that's something that the co-host will do for you. So if you need something when you're in your session, just ask your co-host to do that for you, and go back to your presentation as if nothing had happened. I think the last thing that I just want to share with you is that we would love you. We will do it if you don't, but we would love you just to remind people at the end of the session that you can go to theexhale.com and donate, that this has been an extraordinary piece of work to pull off. We don't know how all the expenses are going to be covered, and anybody that would like to donate, it would be hugely appreciated. So if you can mention that, great. If you don't, the co-host will close the meeting just with that ask. All right, let me stop sharing now, and I'm also going to take everybody off mute. And those were the things that I wanted to share with everybody.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you.
Shall we go around in a circle to see if anybody has questions? Would that be the easiest? I mean, circle and square.
That's perfect. And what I'll do is I'll demonstrate how the spotlight works. So Gwendolyn, do you want to go first or last?
I don't mind.
Yeah.
All right, let me start with Ruth. I'm going to, oops.
No, Gwendolyn.
Well, the truth is Gwendolyn will go first and last, so I was going to get her to store it all up.
Okay, I'll go. I do have quite a few questions because I'm the most annoying one, so just shut me up. One of my questions is, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's a good question. So I have a question about if we're using a microphone, and then I'll be getting up, I'll be sitting down further away from the microphone to demonstrate play, and then I'll also be standing up to demonstrate some other things. I'm sure various of us have this same issue. So I wondered what happens with the microphone and whether that we need to make any adjustment on that. That's my first question.
Yes.
I'll show you.
What I suggest you do is to walk away so that you know, because there's a feature that we can turn on or off. By default, your microphone will be auto incrementing. So if you step back and speak to us and then move forward, and let's see what happens.
What, just now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing some things standing like that. Be about like that.
Yep.
And then I'll be coming in and sitting with the cello, probably so that about that place there. Is that okay? Can you see that and hear that? So all right.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. So we don't have to make any changes if we're moving around the room. Okay.
Can I jump in there, James? Just with the automatic balancing of the microphone, I found that I can't teach with that switched on because it distorts the sound of the instrument. So actually it's better switched off.
Yeah. So, oops.
I have another question. If we want to share our screen, but also if I want to play some audio, or I want to show a video, presumably you just do the share you press share screen, and the co-host isn't involved in any of that. Presumably, that's just.
Sure. Let me just walk through with you exactly how you would do that, Ruth. So, and everybody can follow this through themselves if they're interested. So click the share screen button once and then do nothing else. Okay?
Yeah.
Now what you see now is the difference between a screen that you can share, and then below that will be the applications that you have open running at the moment. You'll also see that there are two boxes that you can check. One says share computer sound and one says optimize screen sharing for video clip. Can you see those?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you'll want to do, and by the way, do you have a video ready that you could play just to demonstrate?
I don't actually.
All right.
But
Well,
maybe
Emma,
somebody else does. I mean, I can.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah, I can play my promotional video.
we could come back to you when you're ready, but what you would do is to check the box share computer sound and the optimize screen sharing for video clip, then go back and click on the screen that you want to share, but without a shadow of a doubt, I recommend you practice this and have that video app sat and ready to go before you hit the screen. If you don't.
So would you have the video clip on your desktop? Would that be the best? Where would you keep it? Just have it on your desktop. So it's.
I'd do two things. If it was on my desktop, I would double click it until the video player application was open, and then I'd just put it on pause until I was ready.
I could probably do that right now. Is this useful for anybody else?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether anybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. So I'll get.
check the
I've
two
got on
boxes.
my desktop. Yeah. Okay. I got on my desktop. I got the video I sent you that I made in the thingy for the Exhale. So I can use that, right?
Perfect.
So I check the two boxes, and then I go to my desktop.
Yes. Screen one. You should still have an option to click on your screen one.
Desktop one.
Yep.
Okay. I'm just clicking on that. Yeah.
And
And now it says to share your computer audio, please install the Zoom audio device.
hey, wonderful. I'm so glad we.
I don't want this to happen on our calls, on
Yes,
our lessons.
I'm so glad we tested this. All right, Ruth, we've got some work to do. Let's just come back from screen sharing for now,
Yeah.
which I can help you with.
Oops, I've lost everybody
share.
now. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Well, that's something to think about, I guess.
Yes, that's something we need to sort out before your lessons go ahead. Does anybody else want to try sharing, or is anybody else on this call planning to share some video?
I will be, definitely. I'll be sharing a lot of slides and video.
Jennifer, would you like to have a go, and let's see what happens for you?
Yeah, I'd love to try it. When I click on share screen,
Yep.
I don't see the two boxes that you mentioned. What I get is I get an option of basic or advanced.
Yep.
And I see, let's see, what I should do is, I don't have anything ready to share because I clicked on, let me just see, what's this? Yeah, maybe come back to me, James. I'll see if I can pull up something to share, and then I'll try it in a minute.
Okay. Will do. So Emma, you had some other questions, I think.
Yes, hang on, I'll just... sorry about
Sorry, James.
yeah, it was about recording. I'm not sure I can record my sessions. Just in terms of the contracting with the people in the group about confidentiality.
Perfect.
I mean, I could, it could be a very different thing if it was not a closed space.
No, Emma,
That's okay if that's what you want, as in.
no, look, Gwendolyn's on the call. It's her final say.
Yeah.
But for contracting reason, you have a good reason not to record. I think we should note and respect that. But I see.
Yes, I think there are so many wonderful things on offer here. This space could benefit from being different, and that's it. Maybe a place where people can share a vulnerability, which can then be used positively.
Hey, Jennifer.
Oh, hello.
That's all right. That's exactly what I mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to also say the same. I also have an issue with the recording. It's also, people are talking about stage fright. They're talking about feeling very, very vulnerable. And I feel it's really important that it's a safe space. So whatever, we need to be really clear about that. I don't know how, but thanks for bringing them up.
Can you hear me speaking at the moment, folks?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying out this new microphone. The recording thing is something that was flagged very early on with James, and I actually mentioned this to Emma as well. Emma will recall. The reason I asked it was because of, what's the word? Confidential. No, there's a different word for it. I didn't want anyone to be in a spot where people could complain after the lesson to say, well, Ruth said this and now I'm hurt and I'm going to sue her. Or Jennifer said that and I took it personally and I'm going to sue the Exhale. And the Exhale is an association registered in Switzerland. So it works on a charitable basis, but still I basically wouldn't be equipped how to handle that. So on the one hand, I totally agree with not recording things because I'd like to have a more loose and European idea of it. But I also understand that certainly in parts of America and Canada, there will be a different view on that. So it's actually something we can discuss here. It's actually more about protecting you, the teacher, and protecting the Exhale as a collective than it is about trying to spy on you or anything else. Those recordings, just to make it very clear, particularly the ones that are flagged from the very beginning as not something that people wanted to have shown, won't be shown or passed around. It's primarily for your own good that I thought about it. And the other thing that I mentioned, maybe you remember this from the Google form, we asked you if any part of your classes might be shown later on a space like YouTube or whatever, just for people afterwards to get a glimpse of what we did and what we might do if we ever do it again. And basically, because we don't know how we're going to be in the future, I thought that by having the recording tool, if somebody came back to us and said, oh my God, there were 5 minutes that were just priceless, it was amazing, I'd love for that to be publicly available so people saw how and what we did in this very unusual moment in time, then that would be available to the Exhale. It wouldn't be for commercial purposes, simply to show people what we've done. So it's really a little bit up to you. There's also the thing that James is better able to clarify than I am concerning Zoom and confidentiality, which is something that was flagged recently. James, perhaps you want to explain about that. Is James still there? Yeah.
I am, but yeah, I would not be in favor or allow any of our recordings to be available on Zoom's cloud. So anything that we were recording would be on our own devices so that we had control of the privacy around those assets. But I think it's, you know, I think there's no question if you flag to us that you don't want your session to be recorded, I don't think anybody is going to then record it. It was.
Yeah, I totally appreciate everything you're saying. It's such a fine balancing act between keeping everyone safe on both sides and promoting this venture. So I totally appreciate that. So I can run the sessions, make it very clear with those involved that it will be recorded, and it will have a very different feel, I imagine, because of it. Which is a shame, but it doesn't mean it can't be.
Yeah, no. So let's not do that, Emma. Let's deliver the very best experience.
I'll be super clear with anyone in my group about. I mean, in fact, it's a key part of what I do is talking about contracting and those spaces and everything. So
what I would propose, Emma, and for anybody else in that situation, please drop Joanne an email just to say, I would rather my session was not recorded. We will then mark that in the Zoom settings so that whoever is co-hosting is really clear that this is, oh no, this is one of the meetings that we're not going to record. Does that work as a process for everybody?
Yeah, and if it helps, Gwendolyn, for someone like myself to sign something to say I take responsibility, because I certainly don't want to make any more stress for you.
No. I mean, as I say, it's the litigation, and that was the word I was looking for. Is more. Well, it could be either directed at one of us at any time, simply because of something we didn't even. I mean, people are very sensitive sometimes, and or at the association. So if we can all agree that that we will flag whatever we do and don't want recorded, it's more to protect ourselves. So I don't necessarily need a contract for that, but it would be very helpful if you could make it very clear to the people joining your class, just sensitize people to this. You want to say something, Sammy?
Could it be that in the introduction where people wait in the waiting room, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. That there is a word about self-responsibility, so that we will not take any you do this at your own risk. So if I do slight exercises before the meditation, I will tell people to not go over the barrier of pain. But if they do and they injure themselves, it's at their own risk. So if there would be a slight, a phrase, they can read it.
How do you feel about that, James? I don't have any experience in that. I think it's a great idea, but I have no experience. James? There he is.
Yeah, what I would much prefer that the individual makes whatever safekeeping statement they need to. So, Sammy, you're going to say what you need to say better than anybody else. I think that's the way I would prefer it to be handled.
Well, you don't want anybody, having a whole list of warnings before they join a class.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
I also think that, sorry, just back to the confidentiality thing, that maybe we could be very clear, each one of us, either the co-host or the person running the workshop, that if it's being recorded, that these recordings are only available to the Exhale, and if anything is ever wanted to be used, the person involved will be contacted and asked, so that they feel safe, so that nobody's ever going to send out anything out for publicity with somebody involved being vulnerable or without their permission. Something that maybe we could find a way, or the co-host could find a way of saying that.
Here, Ruth, you're very right, but just to keep the administration lean, because there's a huge amount of emails going in and out to Joanne and James and I, and even as a core team, we're struggling to stay ahead. Would it be possible that every host who feels it's necessary to tell their audience anything about this part of the recording? I, for example, don't feel like I have to do that because my classes are relatively playful and anybody involved has already signed on for the purpose of a masterclass and is aware of what's happening. So I, for example, I'm not going to go on about that. I will simply mention that the hosts at all of these meetings will say at some point that this is being recorded, and if the person doesn't want to be recognized for that, what they have to do is mute their microphone and turn their screen dark. And at that point, that whole issue is already sorted out, more or less. So that will be said by a co-host. It is the responsibility of each tutor, because I think that we've discussed it here. I think that works fantastically. That's another thing I just wanted to point, because it goes into this same thing. We mentioned that you're going to email Zen at theexhale.com to tell us about any of these things. It has also, I'd like to also state that if you want your question and answer done in a certain way, rather than sending us lots and lots of emails, let's just agree. If you want to tend to your questions and answers yourself and are not relying on a co-host, please just tell that to the people at any point during your class, maybe in the very first 5 minutes or the first 15 minutes, because it all is very dependent on how large your classes are, that you go, okay, anybody has any questions, please ask me, because otherwise there's going to be loads and loads of chat and a co-host won't know whether to simply save that for the end. And if that's not, please mention at the very beginning, the co-host indeed is going to be taking the questions. I think that's the easiest way is to try and sort it out at the very beginning of any session. What do you think, James?
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 Yes, I think that's what I meant to say if I didn't say it that way.
Okay. Perfect. I think, yeah, so and everything that isn't pre-recorded, we'd like to be in attendance for you. We're going to try and sort that out by the end of this week. And that means that we more or less know who's hosting which class. And from that point on, I would like to see with Joanne, is the best thing for us to write you an email and to simply show you who your co-host is, or to give you an overview? I don't know. Joanne, do you have any ideas on that, just to keep it lean so that people know who's going to be their co-host more or less in case there's a panic just a few seconds before they go online?
When we've sorted it out, we can let everybody know. That's no problem.
Okay, so then at that point, you'll know who your co-host is, and if there's anything that you want to mention to that person, then yeah, you can mention it at that point. Again, it can go into zen@theexhale.com because it's simply the easiest to have it all streamlined in. John, who can then talk to James and I about that meeting with you. That's actually the only thing I had to say at this point. I have no other questions, so feel free to ask.
Dylan, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tara.
Okay. It's just in relation to the microphone. I've been using Zoom since last November for lessons, and there have been issues, with the sound quality and with the it dropping out, like especially if people are playing, like Zoom, as you know, is for human voice as opposed to music, so it recognizes long notes as background noise, and it just kind of cancels it out. So as I'm sure, like James said about the audio settings, but I know that you also recommended the Blue Yeti microphone, which I actually just got that as well. And Ruth was asking earlier. Oh, snap. Ruth was asking earlier about moving around in the room, and there's a setting on the Blue Yeti, like for orchestras and for moving, so that you're not like just like one directional. So you've got the omnidirectional, which is for events and orchestras, and bi-directional, and then stereo. So you might want to experiment. I've been experimenting a lot with those. Just I got this in the last once by having it with somebody else. I can't do it myself because what I hear is not what they're hearing. So it might be something to look into.
To that end, in 10 minutes time, we have opened up the floor for testing with James.
Okay, cool.
And
Great.
Joanne, testing microphone.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for flagging that. Thank you.
Someone just added that in the chat. I see that there is a setting in the audio preferences where you can, when you go to the preferences of Zoom, to the audio tab, and then you scroll down and you go to advanced.
Yeah.
You get to settings there where you can suppress persistent background noise and disable that. Suppress intermittent background noise, disable that. Because I have the same problem when I do breathing exercises. I do noises like.
So do some of my students, yeah.
And that will build it out straight away. So it took a while to figure out where is this setting, and other platforms other than Zoom you can't turn off that setting, so it renders them more or less useless to me.
Okay, great. And the other thing I was told that I discovered also was, like, even when you go to that audio settings that you go with the microphone down in the bottom corner, then the screen pops up and it says speak or microphone. I was also told to turn off the automatically adjust the microphone volume. Yeah, exactly. There, Joanne just said it. Yeah, so turn off.
Because you have a cool microphone, then you can turn it off, and you have a manual setting probably on yours to adjust it.
Well, I was even doing that when I was just playing straight off my Mac.
Then it can get a bit weird sometimes. So like that microphone here, I don't have a manual adjustment, so I'm happy with the automatic. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not doing like string instrument would not work with that, of course, not at all.
Yeah.
Can I ask something?
Thank you.
Go ahead,
This is
Pablo.
Pavlo. I notice on the bar at the bottom of the screen here that I have something where I can click on record. What is to stop any participant in a one-to-one or a masterclass just pressing that and recording all the content and taking?
Good point.
You see,
They can't.
Yeah, we can make sure that that's not in the default settings for the meeting. But this is why it would be really useful to know.
Sorry, you sound like a Dalek. Can you just? I don't want to record that. Ken?
There's a setting in the when we set up the seminars or the webinars or whatever the session. There's a setting where you can allow guests to record or not.
Okay.
That's right.
So-
James has just written it in the chat that he will disable that function for all our lessons. Thank you very much for flagging that, Pablo. James, can I ask another question to do with the
Screenshots.
screen grabs? That it's the computer can take a picture of the desktop. And I'd love to know what James thinks about that. I think we might be able to hear James now. I can see him anyway, but he's not. He's on mute. Oh, there he is.
I didn't hear the question. I'm so sorry.
What about screen grabs, screenshots?
Yes, that's possible. So, but remember, the only thing on screen should be the presenter, unless you've chosen to go to the grid view and you're showing other participants. So the default will be to spotlight the person presenting in their class. So there should be no issue with you being screenshotted should somebody want to do that.
I have a question about that. A good deal of the teaching that I do is with anatomical images, so there will be a lot of slides involved in my teaching. And there are some copyright issues with the images that we use. Our organization hires an illustrator and we own those images. So
yeah, that sounds like it needs Jennifer, that needs a disclaimer up front. You know,
okay, just a verbal disclaimer?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So does that mean I can't use a video from YouTube to show the lungs moving, for example? It's a good point. Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, it depends on the copyright with the video you're using. If it's a public domain YouTube video, then you have no issue.
Okay, thank you.
Dale posted a question in the chat. Dale, could you speak your mind there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've just written something, just a concern if people use their phones to video the session, as we could here now, be videoing on our phones and potentially having a pirate video. Okay, so thanks. I don't think we can deal with that. Thanks, Ollie. I've got some other questions, basically similar to Ruth about distance, and if I could reserve 5 minutes at the end of the session, because I'm going to be working with Louis, both of us in this room here. A double bass is a very large instrument. We have to place ourselves further away from the camera and the equipment, so I would love to have 5 minutes with you looking at my setup, if possible, James and Joe, or whoever might be my co-host, so that I feel sure about what I'm doing here. Is that possible?
Absolutely, yeah. We have scheduled that to start actually 5 minutes from now. We're going to be scheduling exactly that. And James, I'm sure, is going to tell us how he's going to do that, because we're basically dropping in. Isn't that right, James?
He's going to do almost nothing. He's going to rely on Joanne, and for the time when I can actually hear something, I'll try and give you some feedback. No, seriously. The way we plan to do this is I will try and field the technical questions. What do I plug in where? And Joanne has the musician's ears for that sounds good, that doesn't sound good. So that's how we were planning to tag team that.
Thank you. And can I just ask one more question? Of the people who I've seen signing up on my confirmation emails, some of them have said a little sentence about themselves. I wonder if there's a way to get a little bit more information so as not to waste time. I'm particularly keen to know if anyone's had injuries or anything that is relevant to my session. I'm also keen to be able to make disclaimers about any sort of stretch. If I invite a stretch, that if somebody's had an injury and that stretch could get worse for them, I kind of need to know that sort of thing, but I'm not quite sure how to
I understand,
find that
Dale.
out.
That's actually an administrative problem that we're going to have. We're fielding so many inscriptions every day that we can't actually offer or provide more information. The description is there for people to fill out, and they can fill in anything they want. They can let us know if they've been injured or not. And it's very much up to the participant to deal with that. I'm concerned that if we open up more gateways to more questions, we've had very interesting questions. We've also had kind of banal ones where people go, what will I learn at this particular class? To which Joanne, as you can see, that's Joanne's response. You can imagine Joanne, myself, and James are working overtime. So, sorry, I'm just going to put you back on microphone here. So basically, I hear what you're saying, Dale. I understand and recognize that it's extremely important, and I would really appreciate if you're doing things that you're concerned people might hurt themselves, you remember to say, I recommend to do the stretch. Please make sure that if you're injured, you don't do it. And if we can do a second exhale one day, perhaps those returning customers will be able to flag this sort of thing in for the next time to see if we can actually have a feedback form from the start that enables that kind of information. Thank you.
We can also make the signing up form where you book. We can make the questions specific to you, so we can edit that. So when I do the calendar booking, we can, you can have a list of questions and people can respond to that. So when you get the confirmation, those answers will be there. But we're sort of just due to just trying to get everything online. Everybody's got the same template at the minute. So Mark 2 will be better.
So, Joanne, you and I had a short conversation about this, about having the emails of the people that have come into our class and sending an email to you that you then send to everybody in the class saying, please make sure you're wearing loose clothing, and via Dale, if you have any injuries, please contact me first. Would that be a way through? Is that just too much work for you?
I mean, what we don't want to happen is that all the emails sort of dissipate. We need to keep control of that data protection, otherwise we're in trouble. So I'm quite happy, before your class to send out an email from you to all your participants once it's full and we know who's in the class. What I can't have happen is that there's responses coming back to then feed back to you, because I've just got, you can't imagine the thousands of emails I've got coming in at the minute. So I can't really do that, but I can possibly, so say that, the Monday before your Tuesday class, I can send an email out to all your participants. Yes, okay. So I could probably do that for you, Dale, as well, but I can't have anything coming back to me that I then have to spread back to you.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Is that okay?
Puts my mind at rest. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Sammy?
I have a short question on professional. How do we communicate with people? Because when I look at the screen, I not look at the camera. James, do you have any tips on this? Do you stick a yellow pointer to the camera, or how do you do it so that you talk to people and not to the screen?
Yeah, it's thank you for asking. It's the trick is this. What I do, instead of being on full screen, which is what I recommend all the participants do, I actually take that Zoom window and I make it really, really tiny, and I push it to the top of the screen just underneath my web camera. So that causes me to look at a part of the screen, and it gives that illusion that I'm actually looking somebody in the eye. So that's tip number one for when you're actually doing it. The second tip I have is And there are people who will understand the reason for this on this call much better than I do. But there is human beings respond really well to an eye level that is looking up to them slightly. So if you imagine that you're in front of somebody that's 2 inches taller than you, have your camera at that height. So try to avoid, Joanne's going to think I'm picking on her now, but that's exactly what I wouldn't recommend, which is that you're looking down into your camera, but instead raise the camera up so that it gives that impression that you're talking to somebody who's just slightly taller than you are, and it just comes across as a much more human interaction, and you really feel like you're talking to somebody.
Good idea.
James, can we discuss those sort of things when we test people as well, so we can test sound and vision? Would that be possible?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think we should slowly start to wrap up this part of things so that we can actually get through those drop-in sessions. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of us here. At least 3 of the people involved in the XL are only doing pre-recorded material. So we will try and figure out if the people who couldn't attend might also need this drop-in session. Are there any more questions that we can answer here where we don't have to take up Joanne or my energy sending emails back to you?
Quick question. Is now a good time to try the screen sharing, James, or is that something that we should save for our private session?
Oh no, I'm happy either way, Jennifer.
I think for many people it might be very interesting to do screen sharing. I know that at least 3 of us need screen sharing options.
Hi there. I know about screen sharing stuff. I think I probably don't need your help, so to make it simpler, I could say thank you very much and
That's absolutely fine, Emma. Thank you for your input.
Thank you for being here, Emma. You're great.
Emma.
See you soon. Oh,
Emma, just before you go, can I just ask, have you got an external microphone, or because your sound is not brilliant? Just
really?
Speaking. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
yes,
that.
I'm just wondering, are you just using your computer's microphone?
Yeah, because I'm not doing any playing or music.
Yeah,
and I've talked often like this, so gosh, that's very telling. So what, is it coming and going, distorted?
You're far away.
Too far away.
And a little bit distorted as well. So, for instance, Ruth has got a fantastic sound coming through for her voice, and yours just sounds, it gets a little bit distorted at times, so might be worth considering.
Okay, I will. I obviously haven't got access to anything really.
No.
So,
or maybe fiddling with the settings or something. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
It all. Emma, thanks a million for being with us.
Headphones, headsets, and like even small headphones to put in, like in-ears, have a little microphone, so don't look too far for it. You might have something in your apartment anyway.
Okay.
So just last question before Emma goes. Are we're not doing anything of this Sound Connect thing? Nobody's doing that. We're not going there. That was apparently...
Oh, the Source Connect, no.
Source Connect, we're not doing that.
It's too complicated.
Okay.
It sets up a whole new
Okay, that's fine.
Software.
It was just in response to Emma's question. Okay.
Let me talk about it briefly. If you use it and it's set up, then it is a wonderful thing. We are not going to incorporate it in as part of what the XL offers in our V1. For V2, I think there's a strong case for a whole bunch of things that we would do slightly differently. But I just come back two weeks ago. This thing didn't exist. It wasn't here. So I'm constantly looking at things. Oh, it would be better if only if I have to park all that for V2. We will all remember V1 because there wasn't anything before this, and this is a 0 to 1 moment, and those are really special.
Thank you very much. Can I just clear up the final question? Are there any questions left before we start screen sharing? And then James, could you just help Joanne and I figure out how we can test microphones so that we're not keeping people hanging on unnecessarily.
No, I want to test microphones. That's what the time is here.
Exactly.
We've set that aside. So let's do a screen share and then let's get on to testing microphones.
Okay.
I just had one question.
Tara?
Yeah, it was just regarding the email that was sent out there about attending other teachers' classes on workshops. And so I'm just wondering what way, and I know Gwendolyn encouraged us to all attend the free ones initially, and there might be some of the workshops that are more intimate and such. I'm just wondering what way is that, what way do we go about asking if there's a workshop that will be okay for us to attend, or some that are not, obviously.
So what we're trying to avoid is taking space on workshops that are more expensive and therefore not being in a position to exhaust the exhale so that people can get a fair cut of it. So the idea in general is that, I'm not sure, no, I can talk, sorry, there's Philip is using the same room. So most people are actually offering payment towards each other's classes if these classes are booked in as being more expensive. So I recommend that for classes, sorry, I have to move away, folks, sorry. I recommend that for classes that, sorry, look at shoot. Sorry. I recommend that for classes that are priced more than one class, encourage people to donate to one another, or to ask the host whether they can have one more space. Some of the hosts have requested a limitation of attendees. So there are some classes that have only 6 people attending or only 8. So that's something that I recommend that you look, you'll see it very easily on the calendar, Tara, at what.
If it isn't specified how many people are in that class and if we want to attend the class.
Yeah, I think that was the easiest way of handling it.
Okay,
thank you very much. Shall we go on to screen sharing now, and testing microphones? Tommy, I saw your finger go up, so I wasn't sure if you still wanted to ask a question, or shall we do it later?
I can write you an email or somebody. It's about the question and answer. It takes up 15 minutes for a 1-hour class. It's a long time. If I could say, let's give it 5 minutes question and answer, or if they have further questions, they can email me.
We're not doing the email thing, Sammy. I've decided not to do the email thing. Not if the ex. So we're not sort of, yeah. Sorry, not great. We're not takes up far too and time.
Yeah.
Oh, you've both frozen on me.
I think you just structure your session how you want. You know, if you want no questions and answers, that's up to you. If you want 5 minutes, that's up to you. If you want 55 minutes, that's fine. Just you decide. That's
I let you
decide. And, yeah, well, I mean, you can even say it while you're going along because we'll be listening.
Okay.
You know, or at the beginning, you say, well, I'll leave 5 minutes at the end for questions. Boom. You know, so we're basically just timekeepers.
Because I heard that the co-host will flag down 15 minutes before and say, no, question and answers during the meditation. So.
Yeah, no. I mean, a co-host also can say 15 minutes. It's up to you how you structure your class. No problem.
Thank you.
And Joanne, can I just, sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, Joanne, just following on from that, what if people want to ask us for our contact details? How do we contact you if we want to have more information, whatever? What is there a particular stance on that?
Always through the exhale. Please don't give out your individual details if that's okay. Yeah. So we want everything funneled, I mean, both ways, just for data protection as well. I mean, everything just funneled back into Excel, and then I will deal with that and, you know, sort of I think that's what we decided. Gwendolyn's frozen, but I think that's
And
our
is it
policy.
okay?
So we shouldn't have
Okay.
any.
Otherwise, we've got 20 different individual artists, and it becomes less of a collective. So we want it all through the. Oh, she's back. Might have something to say. She's getting ready. Yeah, no, I think we're trying to give everything through the
Okay,
Excel.
and we can, as James just said there, that people can, we're not directing them to like our website or our Instagram, our details on the Exhale Facebook page. I see James wrote there. Would that be what you would suggest?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, folks. I have terrible internet connection in the other room. Are we? Have we come to the screen sharing bit already?
No, we're still. I think we're there now. Should I give this a whirl?
Yeah, do go ahead. And
Okay. Okay. So, is everybody able to see that slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes, that's good.
No?
Okay, I can
Is
now.
it
Yeah,
coming?
sorry.
Who said?
I said yes now. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So, I was trying this out last night with my husband. We were practicing, and I do have a few questions about it. You can see that one screen. I have gone in and changed my settings, James. I looked up online how to do that in Keynote. There is a box I had to check in order so that it would change slides, but it seems to take a good, I don't know, it took about a minute, a full minute, or a minute and a half for that to kick in, because right now as I'm trying to change slides, it's just stuck on that one image. Do you have any hints about that?
So this is a Keynote presentation.
It is.
How would you normally change the slide? Would you use an up or a down key?
Usually it's the up and down key, yes.
So, and you're doing that at the moment, and it's not working.
I'm doing that at the moment, and the enter isn't working. Now, if I go back here and I try a new share, it's almost like a refresh. I think that helped once last night. But no, it's not helping right now.
So
It seems to be very dodgy. Sometimes it's working, and
Yeah,
sometimes it doesn't.
Can you right click?
Right click.
And there's no context
Whoops.
changing. And did you share the screen or the application?
Screen. It says screen share, so I'm assuming that's what.
Yeah. So let's just stop this for a second and try a couple of other options. So I'm just going to stop your sharing. So when you click on share screen, just don't click on anything other than just share screen.
You'd like me to click on share screen again?
Yes, and just stop before clicking on
Okay.
anything else.
Yes.
Now you should be able to see screen 1 or desktop 1. Have you got
Yes, I
that?
see desktop 1.
Okay, don't touch anything. And then below that, you should see individual applications. So you should be able
That's
to see
right.
the Keynote application.
That's right.
So which one did you choose?
I chose the Keynote app.
So let's
The presentation.
So let's do the other one. Let's just try desktop. Sharing your desktop now.
Okay, so that's going to be all of our faces. Is that right? Whoops. That's
No,
strange.
it depends what you have here. Oh, okay. So I see the problem. You're not in presentation mode here. So if you could, where is it on here? On your, within Keynote itself, you're in the slide creation, and you need to be in the presentation mode.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me do that. So if I open it first and make sure that it's in, okay, it's appearing on my screen as if it's in the presentation mode.
Well, when you share screen, it wasn't. It was just.
Yes, that's true. That last time it wasn't, but I think the first time it was the full screen, wasn't it?
So do you know how to go from one to the other?
I do.
I do apologise if I sound like I'm treating you like a complete
No,
fool.
no, not a bit. I'm just a little mystified.
I'm just trying to get up to speed.
Why it's
with where
working
you are.
sometimes and not others. So
Okay.
are you able to see that full screen now?
It's full screen, but I don't know if it's in presentation mode. If you click on
I
it,
see.
it should change.
Okay, now it's working.
There we go.
Yeah, now. But
So,
very strange because that's the same thing I thought I was doing a few minutes ago when it wasn't changing.
So I would just practice that a few more times. And look, if it happens live in your class, don't get flustered. Just stop your screen share and do it again until it works the way you expected it, right? Just
okay. All right. Another question about that. When you were showing us your slides earlier, were we supposed to see your image in the corner as well? Because I didn't.
In some screen setups, you will. In others, you won't. Now, this is different on everyone's machine, Jennifer. For example, my setup here, I have 3 different screens, but I'm an uber techie. So it means I've got a bit of Zoom here, I've got this over here, somewhere else over there. So, and I've managed my setup so that I've got people where I want them to be. And when I'm sharing screen, your picture comes right underneath my camera, so that when I look back, it has that illusion that I'm looking you in the eye as I'm talking. Of course, I'm not. I'm just staring at a bunch of computer equipment.
Because my preference would be to be able to share the screen and still have them, still be able to see the class in thumbnails at the same time. Is that possible for me to see the class?
It is possible, but what we will need is to make sure that we're in presenter mode and that you're spotlighted before you do the screen share. So you're sort of dependent on the co-host to have that setting for you.
Okay, so those are the 2 things. It has to be remote, and I have to be spotlighted before we share.
Yeah.
All right, so you're not cycling.
That was good.
Thank you.
Okay, Joanne, who's first up on the sound?
Sure. Are we all here to have a sound check with James?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Yes. Shall we start in any particular order, and then that way whoever's finished can, if they wish to, head on home or whatever else. I don't want to abuse your time. Have we gotten through all the questions?
I went first because it's 12:30 in Australia.
So Tara, so of course, go ahead, Tara.
I'm tired. Go to bed at 9.
Go ahead, Tara.
James, I'll tell you what to do.
What are you sharing with us, Tara?
I have no idea.
Look, it's a mind reader, but you know.
I'm just testing the sound, is that it?
I think it's more for instruments and things, you know, if people are playing and that sort of sound set up as well, isn't it? That talking and playing. So I think Tara, you sound okay to me here, but you're just speaking, aren't you? So in your session, so. Oh, she's gone.
I can't hear Tara at all anymore.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I was just testing something on the microphone. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Well, not really. So, can you just you've got a button that looks like this just to the right of the mute. Can you make sure that you're using the microphone that you intended to?
Yeah, the Yeti. Yeah.
So I think you need to turn the gain up on the Yeti. There's a signal gain on the Yeti. That needs to be turned up.
Is that helpful? Is that better?
Not yet. Keep going.
Not yet? Okay, I'm at about 70% now.
Oh, that's much better now.
Yeah.
Try 80.
Because when I was recording the videos for you, I googled it quite a bit, and it said to have the gain down as low as possible for it to lose any of the background noise.
Joanne?
I was just going to say, we still need to hear you. So actually, at the minute, I can actually hear your speaking voice now. Before, it was very much in the background. So I think that's, you know, and also it's this what James, the setting, the automatic setting as well. So I think if it, depending on, you've got to match the two settings, haven't you? So if you go into audio settings and test your microphone and just make sure that it's staying within the green and not going up into the red, and that it's giving a good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I can hear you now. Now it's good. Yeah.
And the input volume, should we have the input volume around 70-80%?
Well, it depends if you're just speaking.
Yes, I will be. Yeah, I will be just speaking.
Yeah. I see, because mine's set down almost just to be below a third.
Okay.
Because of the violin. Yeah. So, but speaking, I think you can be a bit higher. Yeah.
Because I did like test the mics when I was doing the recordings, the pre-recordings, and I played them back and listened and everything, and so I could hear everything quite well. So I don't believe it was affected in the recordings, but maybe in the live, I obviously need to bring the gain up quite a lot. Okay.
You sound good now. I think we can hear you. So.
Sorry, just before Tara goes and we go on to the next question, there are in fact some things that I forgot to mention. I am terribly sorry. Allow me a moment of time. Thank you for your understanding. The very first thing is, and I hope that I get a nice reaction here, I would like to plan a faculty party at the end of this. Ruth, thank you. So for So for anyone who enjoys a glass of wine or a cup of chai, I was wondering if you would care to join me on the final day of the Exhale for an evening party. Evening, of course, European time. We are going to try and do everything we can to try and find a time that suits everyone, obviously. But would you, in general, the consensus be that that sounds like a fun, good idea?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So thank you so much for the vocal. That's fantastic. And then just another small thing to mention, I wasn't quite sure if it was clear, and I'm sure James has said it though, just to wrap up again on the polls part. If you want a poll for your video, for your conference or your session at any time, please write what it is you want on your poll and for which class to James, because he's our IT whiz and he's probably the only one capable of setting that up for you properly. Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Tara, thank you for joining us all the way from Byron Bay.
Yay, Tara!
Good night.
Take care, Tara.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. One more thing to mention for those who've been following it in the chat. If you want to ensure numbers at your classes, which of course we all do, we are doing what we can on social media and on our website, which is now more or less perfect, I think, as far as we can get it. We are doing what we can to promote all of you. We have videos of yours going out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. If, however, you can let your own audiences know about the Exhale and your class at the Exhale via a newsletter or a phone call or a text message, that will help extraordinarily, because obviously we cannot access all of you and your audiences at once. Because the Exhale is primarily a music-based association, anything that we're producing online is going to people who enjoy music, but might not necessarily reach those very interested in Feldenkrais method or Alexander technique. So just to underline that, if you can, please, our website is now complete. All your biographies have been translated into English and German, etc., depending what language you send it to us. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will probably see your initial videos already being represented, and Facebook, Instagram, and we also have Twitter. If you want to get a complete roundup of all our social media, if you haven't read the email I sent you, that's fine. I've just in the chat posted theexhale.com. If you go onto our website, you will see at the very bottom, always on the bottom left, all of our social media places. So you can just click on Instagram and you'll immediately see our Instagram account or Twitter or Facebook and so on. Thank you very much. Sorry, who wants to go next? Who's in a rush? Emma.
Should we?
Sorry.
I was going to say Pavlo because he's got his violin out there, but if anyone else needs to go, he's ready to go.
This is interesting. I can't hear it at all.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I should say it's on order, the new Zoomy thingy-majig, but it just isn't here yet. So this is with a MacBook microphone. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the voice like?
Just play again, Pavlo. Just the voice is fine. It's just your violin.
I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good. Can you just do some long sustained stuff because that's where it starts to fail. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's where we lose it. Yeah.
Because that's right.
That's where we lose the sound on the long sustained stuff.
Okay, so is there something which I haven't done with this setting?
Yeah, so you're on original sound, are you?
I've got no idea. Sorry.
Okay, so if you go into settings, Pavlo, so next to the mute on your screen there, there's a little arrow. That's your audio settings. You see that? Audio comes up.
Audio settings.
Yeah. Yeah, and then go down the bottom to advanced.
No advanced. I no got advanced.
What Zoom version do you have, Pavlo? Just in the upper left, you see zoom.us about Zoom.
No, I don't know what you're talking.
Right up on the bar next to you at the top there. Not actually on Zoom, but it's right up the top where you'll see Window Help Edit, and it says Zoom US.
I don't have a help thing. I'm sorry.
I
have a padlock, an eye.
Above that, Pavlo. Above that. Right at the top, or are you on full screen?
Zoom US. Sorry, got it.
Yeah. So have a look at Zoom US and see what about Zoom. On About Zoom, and it'll say what version you've got.
Version 4.6.10.
Well, that should be right then.
Okay.
So you go see audio settings on that little arrow. Audio.
Sorry,
settings.
this is back down the bottom again.
Yeah, back down the bottom. There's that little up arrow.
It.
Push that.
I'm on.
And down the bottom
settings.
it says audio settings.
That didn't happen.
Click on that.
Before.
Okay, then you've got advanced. Right.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then you're going to. Says settings, and there's a little checkbox that says show in meeting option to enable a sound from microphone. Click on that.
Got it.
Okay, and then under that you disable the suppress persistent background noise.
And
the next one, suppress intermittent background noise.
Echo cancellation.
Just leave that. You can't do anything with that.
Okay, so I go away from this now.
And then we'll try again. Let's see what happens. Slow sounds.
It's not good for me, I have to say. I can barely hear myself.
Have you got one ear on and one off?
No, I was, well.
You only hear what's coming out of your violin.
Okay, right.
Like recording.
Okay, like this. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm off now. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, who's next? Who wants to go next?
Okay, but let's try PowerPoint. Might have to share PowerPoint presentations, and I never tried that in Zoom. That could be an interesting one. Well, it's actually a shotgun microphone, which is not meant for near field, but it works really fine. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so I have my PowerPoint presentation open, and I will share it now. But I guess I will share that will appear. Yeah. And then it works perfectly fine. Other than that, can you see now also my in the bottom corner the preview, or you can only see the current? This is perfect. Okay, I never tried that. This is exactly how I hoped it's going to be. And can you still see me or not? If I go on full screen, then it covers my, yeah, because I have a 2-screen setup. That's the thing. That's what I wanted to test. Great. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Sorry? Beautiful. In case you don't know what happened now, I have my whole slide full of hearts and stars. Thank you, James. Oh, did you see that as well? Excellent. So when I changed, and it's not going to go away, the hearts and stars. But how could I clear that in case? Only the co-host can actually. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, that's actually not the slide set I will use, but same thing. Good. So yeah, that's good for me then. So
okay, so you have to, yeah. Right, so maybe Dale, yeah.
Yes. Right, so we've got a few setups to do, but let's try one of those first.
Hi everyone.
This is Louis, who I'm going to be working with.
And I'll be working with him as well.
So one thing is we're going to need some distance from where we have our camera, so what is the sound like?
Well, it's very distant, isn't it? And in fact, even when you were sitting talking to us, you were very distant as well. Wouldn't you agree, James?
Right.
What about now?
We can zoom in a bit. Is this any better?
Yeah, that's an improvement.
I'll just turn up the gain. Yeah.
Fine. That's fine, I'd say. Wouldn't you say, Sammy?
No.
Yep. Sound good? Yep. Absolutely fine.
Voice is there, and can you hear?
Not so much. I mean, the voice is quite soft, I think. I don't know what you can do about that, though. Anybody got any suggestions for that?
Your voice?
Unless you've got heavy, like headphones with a microphone on it, like wireless ones.
The problem is my headphones won't reach.
Well, you don't. You just use your headphones all the time. So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. It just means that a lot of them have a microphone on the, you know.
Yeah.
So, James, any suggestions, or Sammy?
A tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but can you hear us? Is that an
Speak
issue?
clearly, not too fast, and clearly, clear lip movement.
Yeah. It's clearly articulated.
Jave,
Slow
maybe
down.
Jave.
So I could move nearer the camera to talk, and then go back to working with Louis if I'm demonstrating something.
Yeah, that's clear. You're clear now. You were clear just then. You spoke slowly and a bit louder, and that was clear.
From here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like I'm shouting. I'm just
Can
trying.
anybody else mute their microphone so that only your microphone is on? Because I hear a lot of
Thank you, whoever did that.
And yeah. So how's that? Is that better now? Everyone else is muted.
It's much better for me now to hear it this way. I can hear your computers, probably the vents are on, but that's fine. That's a constant background noise. That's okay.
Yeah, we can fix that. So we can sort of
Okay.
turn everything else off. So, but yeah.
Because the equipment we're using is not what you had. You had a Zoom Q2N video mic, external mic.
Yeah.
So it seems to be okay.
It's fine. It sounds like it's good now, really.
And could I just check the sound on my cello for my session?
Where do you want to be there?
Oh, this is fine.
Have you got your original sound settings on?
Yes.
Yeah, just checking.
Any
Sounds
comment?
good.
Sounds all right?
Yeah.
Great. We're done then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's next?
I just have a question before I unmuted myself. I just have a question before everybody goes, and I don't know whether you want to address this here at all, but Gwendolyn, you mentioned charities, and I don't know what charities you're planning to give to, but I was thinking that perhaps musicians would not be a bad charity, particularly Gwendolyn and Joanne. Being rather, I mean, I'm quite serious actually.
You're very kind.
It's funny, but I also think musicians are suffering terribly in this time, and so I was wondering if you had any thoughts about the charities, or whether anybody was involved in making suggestions around it. It was just a question. You don't have to answer it now.
It's a very good question. Just very quickly to go on to that. As far as I understand, we can put a charity link button to any of the classes that we are zooming to Facebook. So pre-recorded classes, anybody who's doing pre-recorded classes, which is, for example, yoga and some of the cooks, if they choose to, they can nominate a charity of their choice. And one of those streamed classes will be linked to a donation button from an existing charity on Facebook, and all donations for people watching will go to that charity. We're going to try and see if we can somehow set something up for the exhale itself as well. As far as I understand, so far we haven't got that option on live classes. Is that right, James?
Is he there?
We can only do it for pre-recorded material. So, for example, Exactly. So basically that links into what we said at the start. If people feel that any part of any of the classes they've given at all is something that they feel comfortable having on Facebook for any amount of time, these videos can be removed from Facebook at any time. Same goes for YouTube. If, for example, Ruth, there's 10 minutes of a class you do, which you think is very appropriate, shows your work without involving anybody in your class who doesn't want to be seen, and you think it's valuable to have it go out on any of our channels for any length of time. That means if in June you suddenly decide you don't want it out there, we will simply remove it. And these videos are not meant for downloads. Unless you're a hack, you're not going to figure out how to download this to your system. It's just there on that platform. So yes, that is something we would like to do. And if you have any of you got any interest in having any of your classes put out there in this way, we'd like to offer one video, one charity per person outside. Only one for now, again, because of the amount of work involved in our internal administration getting that online. Did that answer your question, Ruth?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I mean, we choose a charity ourselves, or you choose a charity, or
you choose a charity. If there is any material that you are happy to have going out after you've given a live class, because you're not doing any pre-recorded material, then you can let us know, and you can let us know how many minutes, which minutes, and you can choose your charity, and it will go on Facebook with that donate charity button where people can directly donate to a charity of their choice.
Right. Okay, thank you. This answers my question.
Pleasure. Wonderful.
I wouldn't mind doing a quick sound check because I quite like to see my son before the next meeting, if that's all right. Is that okay with you, Jennifer? I see you've got your violin out. Is the voice okay? Everything's okay?
Beautiful voice. Beautiful voice.
So if I'm standing up here, the voice is okay?
Perfect.
We'll be going down, okay? I'm just going to play 3 notes and then I'm done. Except I do need to see James for how to share the screen, because you said, James, that there was something I had to do, or perhaps you could just stick it to me in an email or something? Oh dear, it's not tuned. Oh dear, I'll try the other cello. I got another cello. That's the baroque cello. That's that one done. That's all right. Okay. So I just. Oh dear, they've all.
Perfect.
Everything okay?
Yep.
Not even no fingers. Look, no fingers.
Yeah, no fingers, no hands. That sounds great. Yep.
So the microphone was a good buy then.
You sound great. Brilliant.
I know, I worked for ages to play that. Hours of practice.
3 degrees, yeah, 3 degrees for 25 years of studying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a MacBook Pro. Three years. Okay, just I can, if it's, do you think it's better sound or anything to borrow my husband's computer, which is a much more powerful MacBook Pro something or other, some posh MacBook Pro? Okay. Well, yeah, I'd like to put something from YouTube, a video of the lungs. I'd like to show that full screen. That's all I'd like to do, really. And maybe an audio track, maybe also. Okay. Okay, great. Bye, everybody. I'm going to go check out my son. Bye. Lovely to see you. Bye. And thanks, by the way.
Bye, Ruth. Bye, Ruth.
But thanks, James, Joanne, and Gwendolyn in particular. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, Ruth.
Yes, we're going to leave the meeting now too, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dale.
Thank you.
Patrick, Patrick, if you could have a quick check of your email there. I've sent you a small message there, Patrick.
Thank you.
If Thank you. Take care. Have a lovely afternoon. Thanks for
everybody.
joining us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Jennifer.
Hello, hello. So I have several things still yet to be delivered to me. Do not have the Blue Yeti yet, but I am renting the headphones and this other microphone. How is it sounding right now?
Yep. Good.
That voice is fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And if I have a bit of a loose connection in this, so I'm going to carry it gingerly. And if I'm back here, you can still hear me fine?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, great. And how's that?
That sounds good to me. That's the E string's a little bit, sort of bright, but that always happens. So.
A little too close to the mic.
But yeah, it's always better if you're further away. Always. So
okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
If you get too close, the E string sort of gets a bit electric guitar-like. But yeah, no, it sounded good.
Right.
What do you think? What did you think? Everybody else? Anybody? Sammy? Yeah. Ollie?
Sorry?
Just a little tip, if you're insecure about the connection of two cables, you can simply make a knot first and then click them together. So any movement around will then connection, and you make a knot first and then you close it, so any tension will be then on the knot. It's gonna, in the long run, it's gonna wreck your cable, but we're talking years.
Right. Okay. It won't hurt it for a week, probably. Okay. Thank you, Ollie. I have one more question. When the webcam does come, can you talk me through? Is there anything I need to do for it to be recognized? Default. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's excellent. And then I see you for a half hour Friday, I believe, James. Is that right? Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ollie?
I'm just hanging out here because it's fun.
You're helping.
I'm answering emails on the side. Don't worry about me.
All right.
Sammy?
It's the same for me. I will have another camera, and I will have another computer, and I will have a external microphone, so we will not have to check this now, but it works. I've done Zoom sessions like this. Thank you. I'm just staying here because it's fun, and I like people's errors. Yeah. And the gain is a little low. You could be a little louder. So Tim.
Hello there. Hi, everyone. Sorry for jumping in late. I was doing other Skype sessions and stuff. I will have an SE microphone, so a nice warm microphone, which I have a little, one of those red boxes, I don't know what you call it, which I plug into my Pro Tools. So I'll plug that into my computer and I don't see whether that why that would be a problem. I've not done it before in a Zoom context, but I'm guessing we just choose a USB. Yes. That's what I thought. Yeah. USB. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Done lots of lessons and stuff, so I'm comfortable with sitting here, talking and playing in the same place. So I'm not going to be walking around. I'm going to find a slightly better position in regards to the sun. But just a quick practical question. So I've not been in this first hour. One of you is going to be a co-host, as I understand it. What's that practically going to mean for me? There is a question answer session that I'm happy to go with that format that you're suggesting at the end of the class.
Yes, and also that we've recorded this whole session, so you can watch it back in all its glory later, if you know, with all the facts.
Well, if you had like a 2-minute rundown for me, that would help a lot and save me a lot of scrolling.
To make screenshots of these.
You're back. Sorry, I'm supposed to be on mute.
Yes, thanks for all that. That's very helpful. I am indeed thinking in terms of my workshop that it would be good to have questions during the workshop, so that what would that mean effectively, practically, if I change that, if I mail you about that 24 hours in advance? How does that work when they have questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this, when I'm talking, this is also something I can signal, right? I think my modus operandi would be that I do have this view, because then I can kind of gauge what people are getting. It's a very very open area that we're talking about. So I usually also model my class on what the quality. James, you're frozen again. Ah, there you are.
James is freezing.
Tim, can I add to that? It's another question, really, since James is frozen. If I'm doing exercises with everybody in the class,
Can't all play together and hear each other together. So what you need to do is sort of mute and play along, but you can't actually as an ensemble. It's not possible.
it doesn't matter if we don't have to play like together like in a symphony, but we're doing the same exercise together. So let's say we're all doing a scale. Will I be able to hear everybody if they're unmuted? Yes.
You will have a delay, which is different for every single student, so it doesn't work. We tried to sing Happy Birthday a few times yesterday on my wife's birthday meeting on Zoom, and it's hilarious what happens then.
Okay, that's really important for me to know, because
the way we normally do it is that they're on mute, but they're listening to you. You're not, so they're playing along with you.
Playing along with me, okay.
But they're not coming back to you or back to the group. So that makes sense. So they're on mute, but you're not.
May I offer a suggestion for Ruth? What I've done with Skype sort of combined meetings in the past is that I'm new to Zoom, but it's the same principle, that you can say to one or two people, could you play that back to me, or do you want to have a go? And then you can kind of critique them or listen to them, but you go one at a time.
Yeah. Too complicated. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's great, and so I'll just do it. So I play the thing, and everybody else plays along, but they're just listening to themselves and me together, and that's it. Is that right? Is that how it works? Okay. let's have a look at so let's have a look at this person because they're they've really got this movement or something. You can then highlight. Okay, all right, that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you, James.
Thanks very much, James.
Fabulous stuff. Great. Really helpful. Thanks.
Yep.
James.
Okay. Bye.